Ready to go? Okay, good morning, everyone. As many of you know, my name is Carol Fodrick, and I am the owner and broker of record here at Signature Elite Realty. And I'm also the team leader here at the Carol Fodrick Real Estate Group. And I'd like to welcome you today to our monthly Signature Systems Masterclass. This month's subject is going to be mastering lease transactions and building long-term client relationships. This session is all about sharpening our skills, elevating our systems, and learning how to turn every lease opportunity into a lasting business relationship. We're going to be diving into strategies behind successful lease transactions and exploring how to deliver seamless five-star experience from start to finish. Today, I am excited to be joined by two incredible leaders from my group. Alone last year, we wrote over $600,000 in leasing business in 2024 alone, and much of that comes from the systems, the service standards, and the relationship-based approach that you're going to be learning about today. So first of all, we've got Alessia Scavuzzo. She is one of Signature Elite's top producing agents and a true master at converting tenants into buyers. Alessia has built an incredible business by staying connected, adding value, and showing clients that renting can be a meaningful step on the path to homeownership. Alongside her, we've got Shauna Cummins, who is our Director of Lease Closing Services and the operational powerhouse behind our five-star client experience on the leasing side. Shauna ensures that every lease transaction is handled efficiently, compliantly, and with exceptional attention to detail, turning the process into professionalism and service into scalability, which is what we are all about here. So together, Alessia and Shauna today are going to walk us through delivering that five-star experience, implementing a structured system that creates consistency and efficiency, and transforming lease relationships into long-term client and referral advocates. This session isn't just about completing leases, it's about mastering the process, elevating your professionalism, and building a business that lasts. And at Signature Elite, these master classes are part of what sets our brokerage apart. We believe that excellence isn't a coincidence, it is a system. Our mission is to help every agent grow through collaboration, consistency, and continuous learning so that together we uphold the Signature Elite standard of an agent-owned, agent-driven, and service-focused successful businesses. So let's dive in. Let's get ready to learn from the very best. So Alessia, I'm going to turn it over to you and we will get started.
Hi, everyone. Carol, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I'll wait for Bridget to get our slides up and running, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself in the meantime and kind of where I started and what I'm all about. I started my business with Carol 4 or 5 years ago now. I started at the age of 23 and truly not expecting anyone to trust me to sell or buy one of their biggest assets. But I was determined to prove myself wrong and show that to my friends, family, colleagues, and all of that. And I did that truly through building a foundation and building my business on leases, working through dialogues, building confidence, objection handling, negotiating, all of that was truly taught to me through all the lease transactions that I've done throughout the years. So just to have an idea, in my first year, I did 24 transactions, and 97% of those were leases. I was very proud of myself. I was also kind of overwhelmed that it was all leases, and yeah. But here I am today doing a year-to-date 40 transactions, and 70% of those were leases. So I still have a very large portion of my business that are leases, and that is because I see the conversion over the years. I see the longevity that it gives my business, and it's not continuously learning through leases. It's not about what it brings you today and in the moment. And, you know, the $1,600 lease or the $3,600 lease, it's not about the paycheck. It's about the pipeline that you create through them. It's about the advocates that you have and how you nurture them into the longevity for your business. So yeah, Bridget, can we have the slides? Or are they up? Do I not see them?
Nope, we're just going to flip them over. I think we're just having a little bit of technical difficulty. So because we are waiting for our non-brokerage agents to join the call as well too.
Oh, okay.
So I might get you to pause for a minute there.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm actually going to pause. Oh, we've got a couple of them logging on now. Give me just a second.
Yeah, there's a few agents, Carol, that had the wrong link, so I've just emailed them all, so they're just logging on.
Perfect. Alessia, I'm going to pause the recording just for a minute while we sort out our link issues, okay?
No problem.
So let's everyone just stand by for a minute or two. And thank you for those of you that just joined us, thank you. We are just getting restarted after some technical difficulties. So let's go back to you, Alessia. So we are going to start our presentation. Bridget's going to pull up the slides and we're going to talk about all things leasing. So Alessia, we're going to discuss a little bit about how you became such a powerhouse of conversion of potential tenants into buyers, both now and in the future.
Yes.
It's all yours, Alessia.
Amazing. Okay, guys, so welcome. Thank you again for taking the time to join us on this presentation. Yes, like I was saying before, a lot of my business still is built on leases, and that is because I definitely do see the value of doing leases. It's not, like I mentioned, not about the direct transaction that it is in the time. It's about the longevity that it brings your business. It's about the advocates that it creates. And it's about, yeah, creating a scalable business for the future. So we'll go to the first slide. Oh, I really can't see that. Hold on. Okay. One second. I can't see. There we go. Okay. So creating long-term value for our clients. So offering flexible, scalable service for all business types and all business size. So I say that because when I first started my business, it was a lot different than what it looks like today. However, the principles and the foundation and the core definitely stays the same. So securing a tenant or securing a client in general, tenant specifically, is either through a referral or cold leads. When I first started my business, I worked for Carol, so I leveraged Carol's business significantly and other agents in the community. I posted listings on external sites, so Facebook, View It. I paid for some external sites as well to gain some cold leads. And once I had qualified leads, I was able to then service them to the appropriate need that they wanted. So finding a property, and it really starts with how you show up on that first interaction. It's securing them by showing up in service by bringing your MLS listing, showing up with a file folder, really catering to their needs and listening to what they are looking for. And you know, the bar is already so low. There's already so many agents within our industry showing up and asking questions, being able to cater to their exact needs is really not challenging. It's about mastering, your dialogue, your systems, and creating that unique experience for them. And the service during the process is just as important as the post care. So what I've learned from being on this team and having some amazing back end support is being able to just even after the transaction, being able to be in touch with them, stay in community with them, and provide them a service that they didn't even know that they needed, especially for lease transactions. I often hear from new tenants, repeated tenants, prior tenants that it's just a lease and it's not a big deal, or, don't take too much time out of your day. It's just a lease. It's truly not just a lease. The service that you're providing this lease tenant or this client is showing them the pathway to homeownership. That's how I go into every single type of tenant relationship, whether that is today, whether that's tomorrow, whether they just become advocates. It's truly about showing them that there is a pathway and opening their reality into that realm.
I think, Alessia, can I ask a question just to jump into your presentation here? Because two things I want to ask you. First of all, would you say that it's commonplace in our industry for agents to take the perspective of it's just a lease, it doesn't matter that much, or it's just a lease, it's not worth my time? And how would you objection handle that to agents that are out there who are like, nah, leases, I'm not sure if it's worth my while or not?
Yeah, honestly, great question. I get that a lot by new agents. I get that a lot even by kind of some vet agents like, oh, you're still doing leases, or, oh, it's just, a $2,500 lease. I can't tell you how many $2,500 leases or even $2,000 leases has transitioned into either a purchase themselves or an amazing advocate for my business. So again, it's not about what the business and the transaction and the commission amount is for that specific person. It's about seeing the potential of that tenant and seeing the potential of the long-term advocacy for your business. So I very, very much so disagree with that statement. It's never just a lease. I treat all my clients as $2 million clients People say that to me, and that is one of the greatest compliments I get from my clients is like, oh my gosh, you service me like $1 million buyer. Like, yes, everyone should be serviced like they are purchasing a $2-3 million house. That is the baseline of my business. I don't provide lower service because I don't believe in that. Whether you're a $1,600 basement apartment lease, you are getting the exact same service if it was your fifth transaction with me and you're onto your $5 million asset.
Love it. Great perspective, Alessia. Okay, so creating long-term value. So really securing the tenant that's showing up professionally to the showing, the way that you would if this was a buyer client, being on time, having the answers, having professional presentation, both of yourself and the information that you're sharing, servicing the tenant. So just making sure that you are treating it just as seriously as you would a home purchase, making sure that they understand tenant representation, navigating the lease agreement, and then, of course, post-client care, which I know both you and Sean are going to talk about as we get through it.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
So
Cool.
this
Let's
kind of
talk
leads
about
me
our
into
leasing guide. I love this asset. Let's talk about our leasing guide. And this is a
yeah,
shareable that everyone on the call will be receiving after the fact. And so for those of you that are part of the Carol Foddick Real Estate Group, you're familiar with this document. We use it a lot. But for those of you that are outside agents, this is something that you can certainly template and make available with your own branding. Talk about how you implement this in your business, Alessia.
Yeah, so it's more than just, a 25-page laminate guide that you can show up with as an added value to your tenant clients. But the actual meat and potatoes of this guide is showing people that home ownership is possible. The booklet does definitely talk about, what you need in a tenant really or in your tenancy with your landlord and things like that. But the true reason for this guide is to, one, show up as a professional and show them that you know what you're talking about, is to two, definitely give them that roadmap of home ownership and show them that it is possible for a tenant that is entering maybe into a $2,500 lease and what that looks like in the future. And it's really about planting the seed now and to show them where they can be in the future. So I find painting the picture for tenants really gives them something to consider. It opens their mind to things that they may have never even thought of. And I typically don't go through the guide with them, on the spot, line for line. I usually tell them to take it away, read it with their partner, read it with their parents, see if they have any questions after, and really dive into where they may find concerns, if they have, any deeper rooted questions, and then transition them to maybe a mortgage broker, a financial planner. Maybe tenancy isn't what they really want to do right now, and they didn't know homeownership was possible. So this guide is really, I find, the gateway into figuring out if they are correct for tenancy or if they could be moved into a position to purchase a lot sooner than they may have thought. And yeah, it's just an added, honestly, value to show up. When you show up with your MLS listings, you show up with your tenant requirements. It's a way to set yourself apart and show up with something a little bit extra. So it's one of the standard things I add in all of my presentations. And also, again, it sets you apart from the rest, but it also sets you up for success in the future when you are dealing with buyer clients, you're dealing with seller clients, or you're dealing with those maybe higher end value transactions that make you a little bit more nervous. You are already feeling confident to talk about what you have in your binder and show up in a way and build those systems to show up in a way that is professional.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge, Alessia, very few agents are showing up with anything. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll get an MLS listing, but you're often getting sort of group showings happening with leases. So it's one agent standing there to open the door. There are 12 groups of people coming through at the same time. There's not really any two-way interaction, understanding the client's needs. It's sort of like a herded mentality. So I know that you schedule and run your showings a little bit differently. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So again, when I first started my business, I really had to figure out how to manage my schedule and not let clients or potential clients manage or run my schedule. So typically I will book one to 2 days a week for, 4 or 5 groups to come out to a property. I book it in a time slot of usually an hour, so I give them a grace period for when they can show up. And then I prepare little packages for everyone. So I give them, 30-minute, 15, 30-minute intervals to show up. And I do create that one-on-one unique experience that everyone does, look for and cherish. However, I do it in a way that is able to lucratively produce maybe more than just showing up once. So I'm maximizing my time going out there and saying, okay, in the hour, I can have 5 people show up, 15-minute intervals, give myself some time in between to prep, to create the package, prepare what I'm going to say, obviously know the house. And I find that's a very strong way of converting. Maybe not the, all 5, but having more, you're able to convert, 2 or 3 of them.
And when we talk about conversion, Alessia, really what you're looking for is, and I think this might be farther on in your presentation, what are the 3 things that we're looking to try to achieve? So you schedule lease showings, you've got a lease listing, you're getting all of these incoming inquiries. What are the 3 things that we're really trying to achieve? So one would be obviously placing the tenant or being able to work. Well, I'll let you explain, Alessia.
Well, placing the tenant definitely in a place that that works for them. Um, what else? I don't know, Carol.
So
Where are you
are they
going?
really a tenant, I guess is the question. Is this
Oh,
a
I see.
tenant? Do
Okay.
they have an immediate need to be a tenant? Are they showing up as a tenant, but really their high
A
likelihood of
buyer.
being a buyer? And this is very common, especially with some of the higher value leases, because you'll find out through a process of exploration with them that they have great paying jobs, they've got savings, and they either are nervous about the market or are unfamiliar with how to navigate it. Oh, I love it. You've got a slide. I'll let you walk through the other 2 then.
Yeah, it's really how to identify a buyer. So when tenant clients walk through the door and, they like the property and it's all about the aesthetics and it's all about how they feel about the property, it's really about going back with them and having the conversation. So like Carol said, it's identifying where they fall. So are they a renter but really should be a buyer? Are they a renter but in the future with proper nurturing, training and education, they will be a buyer? Or do they identify just as a long-term renter but will be advocates for your business in the future? All 3, like tenants and anyone out there, will fall into one of these 3 categories. It's about showing up and really asking the right questions to find which level they fall into. Um, and it's difficult. It's definitely not easy. The best advice I got from someone early in my career is ask the right questions and shut up and listen. It's about listening to what they say back to you in order to then curate a better question to find out more about them. So it's not just about, filling up the space, asking more questions, why do you like this place? How did you get here? What's your credit score? It's really about diving deeper into what their long-term goals are. Have they ever considered purchasing? Asking those hard questions. Honestly, asking the uncomfortable questions, especially to people that you don't know. To figure out, which category they fall into. And it's really not about, sitting there and grilling them. It's about, maybe taking the information that you have and saying, okay, you guys have you're high income earners, you have amazing savings, you have high credit. Like, have you ever considered what it looks like to have a mortgage? Or have you ever talked to a mortgage broker? And maybe, they aren't in the highest income earning bracket, but they have amazing savings and they have great credit. So what does that look like in a couple of years from now? What is their long-term goals in a couple of years from now? So all of those questions, the hard questions that may not come very naturally at first, will definitely help you qualify the tenant when you're first meeting them. And maybe it's not on the first, conversation when they walk through the door. It's like, have you ever thought about, what it looks like to own a house? But, having that personal connection on the first meeting really sets the foundation of then setting up a follow-up call, going through the resources with them, and walking them through what they could potentially have.
Amazing. Thanks, Alessia.
Yeah.
So identifying buyers, super important. Identifying other business opportunities within your business, right? Because maybe they're a buyer, maybe they're a renter, maybe they're a buyer in the future, but everybody can be an advocate. So reminding us to deal with every customer that calls us or inquires about a rental listing as a potential buyer in the future, even if they may not be, will at least turn them into an advocate because everybody is in community with at least 150 to 200 other people. That's a statistic that's outside of real estate. The vast majority of people in the world have a personal sphere of anywhere between 150 and 200 people. So you're not just interviewing for the potential to work with them, you're interviewing for the potential to work with 150 to 200 other people and all of the business that might come out of that.
Yep, definitely. And something, Carol, you always say to us, and the team is a confused mind will always say no. So delivering a solution to a tenant, maybe to a problem that they didn't even know they had, or to a possibility that they didn't even know they had, will open the door to, again, maybe not just that person you're connecting with, but to so many other people in their sphere.
Got it. Okay. So I know a lot of people on the call are already going to be very familiar with building a referral-based business, but give us high-level points here, Alessia, just to talk about like why and how we build a referral-based business.
Yeah, so building a referral-based business, I noticed pretty early on is it's about the connection that the referral gives to you, right? So the business that comes in from referral base is always stronger than definitely like a cold lead, or if you're cold calling, door knocking, things like that. The conversion of a referral in is a lot quicker, and there comes a level of professionalism already and confidence. Comes part of the transaction already with a referral base or with a referral in. So again, our business is built on referrals and staying top of mind and providing the best service possible. These are just six little things that, I like to kind of keep top of my mind when I'm, running my business. So staying top of mind on with all my clients. Again, that doesn't mean my $2 million clients get more of me than my $1,600 lease clients. Everyone gets the same level of offering. So offering seminars, webinars, pop buys, showing up in a different way than some, I guess than other realtors do or don't at all. And then genuinely just asking for feedback. I find that was a pivotal point in my business was, people that do transactions with me, I'd love to hear feedback of where it went well, where it went wrong, or how can I improve my business? And going back to the customer and truly having that one-on-one conversation, asking for feedback will help you kind of pivot your business and ask for a Google review. Everyone, when you have good service, everyone wants to give back and help to provide your business better growth.
And you've got an example. Tell us about
Oh
Antonio
yeah.
D.
Okay, so this was a good example I wanted to bring up because it was a long-term childhood friend of mine, like has known me since I was 2 years old, always knew me as, Alessia Scavuzzo as a friend. I think very early on, again, I realized that a lot of my friends and family know me as something else. They perceive me as, the girl from school, or I don't know, the girl from skating, or an extracurricular that I do. I found that I really had to reform and shapeshift how other people were able to see me in order to build this foundation and expand my business faster in the way I wanted. So Antonio, a very good child friend of mine, in my head, an advocate, in my head, would do a deal with me, no problem. But did this person know to refer me? Did this person know what I actually did? So I stepped up and I showed professionalism. I showed up over the holidays with small little pop buys, offering educational seminars in ways that maybe they didn't even realize I was kind of peppering in what I was doing. And I showed, so he bought a condo with me eventually and then referred me 5 other clients. So through not only the transaction that I did, but the little peppering that I did before that, he was able to eventually see, okay, this is not Alessia, my childhood friend. This is Alessia, the professional realtor. Look how much she does for me. I got this amazing service. I want my friends to have the same service. And I wouldn't, send my friends anywhere else. So that was a really nice example to see someone who, I always thought was an advocate really turn into the person through the marketing and through nurturing in the way that I did.
I think it's also really important, Alessia, to understand the life cycle of a client, right? So we have a lot of leases. At any given time, we might have 30 or 35 leases on the market for our real estate group. And obviously, some are going to be easier to rent out than others. Some are in better shape than others. But let's talk a moment about like the $2,500 plus. And I realize there's going to be different people in different markets on this call. And for some people, that's a low monthly rent. And for some people, that's really, really high. But whatever kind of the middle, from the midpoint up in your rental market is, you have to really address that as sort of like fertile ground for potential buyers. So when in the tenant profiles that we're seeing come in on anything that's over sort of $2,500 tends to be, people that are moving in together for the first time. So, couples that are sort of trying out one another for a while before they decide whether or not they're going to make a more permanent go of it, let's just say. Most of the people at $2,500 and up are a year or 18 months away from home ownership. And many of them are actually already have the potential to be homeowners if somebody just explained the process to them. So it's just such fertile ground. I'm always amazed how, realtors will chase cold leads down a rabbit hole. They'll buy internet leads or they'll sit in an open house, but then they'll turn their back to the idea of going to do rental showings. My entire business was built on a foundation of turning rental leads into, home buyers and so on and so forth. You gave a great example of somebody named Antonio. I have a similar story with clients of mine from years ago, Patrick and Cheryl. I met them doing a garage lease, if you can believe it. It was $100 a month. It was a client of mine that had a triplex. The tenant didn't need the parking, so I agreed to take on $100 a month garage lease out of service to my landlord clients. I met these people. They were looking at another apartment that didn't have parking, so they were trying to figure out parking options. I ended up leasing them a space. I think it was about $3,000 a month. That was years ago. They have bought and sold and referred to me probably easily $250,000 in business. And it was just all taking the time and showing up in service. So I love what you said about building it, building a database in a business through lease transactions, Alessia, because you and I are both evidence that it's totally doable. Tell us about the three questions that we talk about a lot as a group.
Yes. So I always say whether it's a cold lead or it's a hot, like first generation lead, there are always three things, whether you want to believe it, whether it's, subconsciously in the client's mind, there's always these three questions that they have before they're going to trust you, like never mind with a lease, but like sometimes their biggest assets. So can you trust me? Do you care about me? And are you good at what you do? All of these things will come out through the way you show up in service to them. It is from the very first phone call you have with them to the systems Shauna does on the back end after their lease is closing, to then the client care that gets passed back onto the agents well after they move into their property. And it's not just, the first year, like Carol said, with those newer tenants that are entering into their first tenancy together and really don't even know what the possibilities are. It's being in front of them, showing them opportunities, showing them the long-term capability of what it looks like, and just truly staying in front of them at all times. So I'll give you an example and then I'll go into how we here at the Carol Fodder Real Estate Group show up in service and show that people can trust us, we do care about them, and that we are good at what we do. This is a great example. Aaliyah and David, clients of mine, who I met, oh God, my first or second year doing in real estate. They were a $2,900 lease from one of Carol's listings. I mined them just off of a Facebook lead, and I saw potential in them. Their profile was phenomenal. They were high income earners. They had great credit. I truly had a conversation with them to be like, why are you not purchasing? Maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's 5 years down the line from here. What does that look like for you? After, exploring with them a little bit more, realizing that they were not in a position to purchase. However, I didn't stop treating them like a five-star client. We ended up finding a lease for them. They moved into their place. They're still there, currently now looking to upsize into something else. But through that relationship, they have referred me three other clients, and one of them most recently is a $900,000 sale transaction that I'm currently working in a sign back with right now. So this is a prime example of showing up in service in a way that you can show them that they can trust you in not only, a personal but professional capacity, that we do care about them by showing up, over the holidays, wishing them happy birthday, checking in on them when there's a big milestone in their life. And then are you good at what you do? So those are things that show up in our business, offering them educational seminars, keeping them up to date what's happening in the economy, just showing up as a true professional. Really helped, solidify this relationship into not only three referrals, but a $900,000 sale transaction. So
Love it, Alessia.
if you go to the next slide, we'll talk about, oh, we got one more. Okay. So this is,
Really, this is sort of like a lead into what you were just saying before, right? Like why
Yeah.
it's so important, because there's the three things, and it doesn't matter whether you're working with a tenant client or a buyer client. If you haven't mastered those three things, People just simply will not work with you. Now, sometimes you'll be great at nailing all three things in the first 20 minutes of a conversation. But sometimes, more often than not, it takes time to build up that consistency, right? So,
Yeah.
and the importance of building a business that is actually built on, on referrals and repeat clients requires consistency. You were not going to be top of mind for somebody that, only speaks to you once a year, or you did a transaction with 2 years ago and you've never followed up with again. There's no loyalty there. There's no reason for them to call you back, especially when there's 80,000 other real estate professionals in Toronto that are all screaming as loud as they can for that business. So why do we create five-star client relationships, and how does that in leases, and why does that how does that build our business?
Yeah, I think it's as straightforward as it just creates the trust and the loyalty that people want. Again, like these are massive milestones for people, whether it's your first $2,900 lease, whether people are moving from USA to Canada, like it doesn't matter what the situation is, the trust and loyalty, then the foundation of how you present yourself to this client will create the long-lasting relationship. And we do that through, the trust and transparency, being honest, being reliable, staying on top of your clients. Communication is another big thing. So, not backing away through hard times, having the hard conversations with them. Not every transaction is going to be amazing. Not every transaction or not every deal they're going to get right away. So it's really about I find with leases, especially, it was able to teach me how to have the hard conversations because not every profile is perfect. And quite frankly, not every co-op agent is perfect. You can have a perfect profile and they can just deny you for honestly no good reason. So it's learning to really how to objection handle both on the agent front and then on the tenancy front to create not go back to them with bad news in a bad setting, but kind of change the perspective and shift the way sometimes you have to say things to clients. So yeah.
I'd love to do a little bit of objection handling with you. So we've got, 30 plus agents on this call. Everybody has had a lease transaction where you know that they should be a homeowner, but they love to throw some objections. So I've got a couple I hear often, but I'd love for people to throw some in the chat. So you're listing, or you're, managing lease leads for another agent that are coming in, and it's a $3,000 a month apartment. This is a mortgage payment for someone. Like, they could own the condo for what they're paying in rent. And we get some great objection handling, or we get some great objections thrown at us. I'll give you a common one, Alessia, and I wanted to kind of do rapid fire. So, oh, look, she's taken her camera. She's ready to throw some questions at you. So, Alessia, I don't know, everything you're telling me sounds really great, but like the interest rates are just too high right now. I don't think it's a good time to buy.
Yeah, for that, I would say a great line that I use is date the rate, marry the home. We haven't been in a market where you've had as a buyer so much opportunity. There's so much inventory, and being on the buy front and working with so many other buyers, I can see that people aren't making decisions off of interest rates. They're making decisions for their long-term future. So if today you want to go and see, 5 or 6 houses that might suit your needs, you'll be in a much better position today than you will be in, who knows, 3 or 4 years from now. Where will the economy be in 3 or 4 years from now? I can't promise you, but I can promise you today what your mortgage payment will look like, what it'll look like to live in the home. And I can promise you'll be a lot happier paying yourself back than rather paying a random person potentially the mortgage that you could be repaying yourself in the end.
That's right, because you're still paying a mortgage. It's just not your own mortgage, right? So, and then the other one that I love as well, the objection to that one is, well, rent is 100% interest. So let's not forget that. You're worried about your, 4% interest rate, but rent 0% if it goes to your own equity. Anne from Kelowna has a great one. The market is going down and I will lose my equity position. Alessia, why should I buy now if the market is going down?
Well, I think that also comes back to asking the right questions. So where they are in their stage of life, are they young, let's say newlyweds? What are you losing out on? Are you going to be there for the next 10 years? What does it look like to them? So always, taking a step back and maybe not just firing an aggressive answer back at them, but taking a step back and asking more questions. And again, using your listening skills to say, okay, where are you going to see yourself in 10 years? Does that look like a good opportunity for you? And catering the answer in that way.
I think it's important. And also, the only way that we know that the market has rebounded is when it starts to climb again. So it is impossible to time the bottom of the market, simply because the only way to know it was the bottom is when there is recovery. So I think, we use economic indicators to tell us when we're close to the bottom, and most economic indicators would tell us that we're close to the bottom now. So, but you're right, it's a long-term purchase. You don't buy and sell real estate the way you buy and sell stocks. It's meant to be a property that you live in, offer security of occupancy. Nobody
Mhm.
can kick you out. Nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. And it gives you the opportunity to be in the driver's seat with regards to where you're going to live and how long you're going to live there, which is invaluable, right?
Totally.
So I love it. Okay, you had one more slide for us, Alessia, and then we're going to flip over to Shauna to talk about delivering five-star operational excellence. Oh,
This
super
kind of goes
quick. So yeah, this is one that a lot of our Buffini agents will know.
Yeah, this kind of goes into Shauna's slide nicely because it's really just how we here at the Carroll Fodder Real Estate Group show up in service. And we do that. We sit at the beginning of the year and we sit down and we see how can we touch all the five love languages. Not every client's the same. You will never meet, even two clients the same. Sometimes couples are polar opposite. So I have clients in my database that are financial planners, lawyers, very highly pragmatic by nature. And then on the other side of things, I have people in my database that are seamstress and teachers and, again, complete opposite maybe on the aesthetic side of things. So you need to be able to cater to everyone, and that will be showing up in service in, birthday cards. What else do we do? We do community events, educational seminars. So all these little things that we touch upon throughout the year are small, light ways you can show up in service to both, the pragmatic people and then the aesthetic people. The last example I'll give, which is one of my favorite examples, is a referral that I got from a very close friend of mine, again from high school, who I really, really had no intention of ever doing business with. He was very straightforward with me. His name was Adam. He's my age. Lived in a condo downtown, rented for like $3,700 with a roommate, found that property with a family realtor. He reached out to me and asked for an opinion of value for his mom for one of a condo that it was being sold within the family. They wanted a second opinion from a non-biased realtor, and he was very straightforward with me and said there is no business to be had here. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. However, just know, like, don't be salesy, don't sell us anything. Like, there is nothing to be had here. I said, absolutely, sure, why not? Like, it's a way to strengthen my dialogue. It's a way to strengthen my skills, my confidence. Let's jump on a Zoom together. Did that, was on an hour Zoom with them. I can't say I wasn't nervous. I can't say I didn't, spend 2 days before prepping for it. But in that conversation I had with her was the result of her becoming one of my biggest advocates, and that was the mom and the grandmother. Since that day, he bought a condo with me. He referred me to other buyers that one transacted, one's in the pipeline, and the mom, on the other hand, has referred me three other transactions, and she has bought and sold a property with me to this very day. So
Wow.
it's just an amazing example to show you, even the people, like I said, the people that don't even know what they don't have. Our service offering, I know here at the Carroll Fodder Real Estate Group, is unmatched. And I can go around saying that without a doubt. I can walk into a room and tell them what you're getting here in our team is uncomparable to anything else. I go outside and try to find something, I challenge you to do so. So this is just a great example of nurturing. And, this didn't come in 1 year. I met him in 2022. It happened in 2023. The nurturing continued. The most recent transaction was this past year with the mom. So it's not a quick business. It's not quick turnover, but the longevity of the business through leases is 110% there when you build the proper foundation.
I love it, Alessia. That's great. We're going to move into Shauna's part of this. So, Shauna is our director of lease closing, services, and she services the back end of all of these transactions. So, we have last year we did 274 leases, as I said, over $600,000 in GCI. And I say that because it's really important to keep perspective about what you're spending time on. So, Alessia's highest dollar producing activities are lead generation, which is nurturing her database, and also facilitation of the actual transaction. So going out there and actually meeting the clients and writing the leases. Once the paperwork is done, Alessia hands it off to somebody who is going to facilitate that transaction to a higher level, frankly, of service than she could even provide. we have on the call today Sarah Copon, who's also an agent here at the brokerage as well. Sarah reached an important milestone in her business. She's just, actually, I think it was about a month and a half ago now, written her 50th deal of the year as well. So doing huge numbers, both with sales and leases. But we just got out of a meeting where we talked about how she's going to convert. She works with a lot of landlord clients, how she's planning to convert many of her landlord clients into buys this year, now that we've likely hit the bottom of the market here in the GTA. So I want to be clear, the only way that, people like Alessia or Sarah can scale effectively is because they have the back end transactional support to be able to do that. So I've asked Shauna to join us, and Shauna holds the title of Director of Lease Closing Services. She's going to go through our templates for what operational excellence looks like. I realize not everybody on this team is going to have the means to have multiple administrators working on the back ends of their business, but the whole goal is to keep administrative tasks to administrators and keep our income generating dollar producing agents in production as much as possible while making them look phenomenal in front of their clients. So Shauna, let's talk a little bit about operational success.
Sure. So, as Carol said, I'm the Director of Lease Closing Services, and I've been with the group now for about 3.5 years. 2.5 years of that, it's been doing this role. So, and the only way that we're able to close 200 to 300 lease transactions a year is by having the systems in place that we do that allow us to get through all of the steps that we need to get through and provide that kind of client service and be efficient at it, because we do a lot of leases. So I'm going to go through we use a platform to organize our transactions called Basecamp. And in Basecamp, we have a project for each of our transactions, and that's where we keep our paperwork. The agents are included in that, so they're able to go in and see where we're at in our checklist, see where we're at with our paperwork. All of that kind of stuff is in there. So these, as you see now, this is a tenant checklist. So this is one of the checklists that's in Basecamp that I use to go through the process from the time that I receive the firm deal from one of our agents. This is the process from that point until basically the keys are handed over. So I'll just kind of go through top end of it just so that you have an idea of what I do. So the transaction comes to me. I am then reaching out to, if it's the tenant side, I'm reaching out to the tenant clients. First step, I'm reaching out to the listing agent. If we're on the tenant side, I'm gathering information from the listing agent about the lease, whether it's about what the utility providers are, what the property management company is, who our tenants need to be in contact with to ensure a smooth closing. So once I gather that information, I then reach out to our tenant clients. I have a templated email that I'll show you afterwards. All of our emails are templated for efficiency, and I just go in and kind of change the details as needed for whoever I'm dealing with. And I reach out to them and I let them know all the details. This is the property management company. I'm going to reach out to them on your behalf. I'm going to gather any tenant forms that you need to complete. So please watch for that email. It's going to be coming back to you, stuff like that. I send links for the utility providers that they need to be in contact with to set up their accounts. I send them links for tenant insurance just to make it easier for them. Sometimes they've never had tenant insurance and don't even know where to start. So I send them links of ones that are easy to manage online and get their insurance set up, stuff like that. Once that is done, I then kind of manage the back and forth between the tenants and the listing agent. So I'm passing that information back and forth. Once I receive the stuff that we need from the tenants to close, I pass that on to the listing agent so that they can pass it on to their landlord client and make sure that everything is in place before the keys are exchanged. Like I said, I will liaison with the property management to make sure we have the forms that are needed, make sure that they get registered. If it's a condo, registered with the building, all of that kind of stuff that needs to be done before occupancy. And then I am reaching out and kind of setting up the key exchange, whether that's going to be by lockbox or in person or how that's going to happen, set up times, all of that stuff. So that kind of brings it to the key exchange. And then after that, I'm sending, we send out a closing package and we do requests for Google reviews and all of that kind of stuff, just as after the package has been sent out. And then we also do a handoff back to the agent so that they can continue their relationship with them throughout the course of their lease and stay in touch so that, you know, when their lease comes up, if they're going to release again, or maybe they're going to buy, whatever they're going to do, the agents stay in touch with them long after the closing process happens. So that's kind of what happens from the tenant side. It's very much similar for the landlord side, only I'm collecting the other way around kind of thing, and bringing everything back to the landlord. I just wanted to make mention too, I know Alessia focused a lot on the tenant side, but we have a lot of landlord investors that we work with that trust us to bring their leases to a close without any hitches. And we have many now that I've worked with several times over again that keep coming back to us and bring us all of their business because they know that we have the processes in place that will come to a smooth close, and they won't have to, they're kind of hands off. They don't have to be really involved. Everything is just kind of done for them. They're kept in the loop with everything, but they don't have to be going back and forth and asking for stuff from the tenants and this and that, or dealing with the property management or any of that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to mention that we do a lot of work with investors that have several properties that bring them to us. And so it's really important that we show them that we're able to manage this process efficiently and smoothly and without any kind of glitches or any kind of hiccups along the way. So like I said, the landlord checklist is there for you guys, and I believe they're all going to be sent out to you after the call so that you can, you know, use what you want from it, or take what you can from it. But it is pretty much, it's the same. I don't want to go through all the steps. It's pretty much the same process. It's just the other side of the transaction.
I love it, Shauna. So, you know, from a landlord perspective, I can tell you, because we're pretty evenly split. We have a lot of tenant deals that come in, but we've got a ton of landlord clients as well. And it's always been my experience that the easier you can make it for a landlord client to be able to successfully rent their unit, the more likely they are to buy and continue to accumulate a portfolio. So it sort of lends beautifully into another one. And then on the tenant side, there is nobody that is out there doing all the things that you do. Like, we really put the mint on the pillow. And for all of you that are watching this, that are looking to create systems in your own business, who don't have an administrator, I want to really encourage you to, you know, lean into these checklists, because what you are doing is creating a 5-star customer service experience so that when that tenant does become a homeowner, and we know statistically most adults do at some point become a homeowner in their life, when they do, then they decide to make that switch from the tenant mindset into the buyer mindset. And, you know, they walk into an open house, they say, do you have an agent? They will confidently say, yes, I have an agent. I'm calling, you know, Alessia, because the transaction was so well handled on the back end. And it really is, like, I want to say it's like shooting fish in a barrel, guys, because the vast majority of agents that are doing leases are doing none of these things. They are executing the lease, and that is the end of it. I know, because we work with those cooperating agents who they get the lease signed, and then it's between the landlord and the tenant for closing. And it is such an opportunity that is missed, to be able to create advocates that will go out and tell everybody about what a phenomenal agent you are, especially when you hit that, you know, 25 to 40 age group, where so many people are in last rentals before home ownership. You can hit a friend group and end up, I mean, I've had sort of many little clusters of transactions that have happened around one tenant referral in that was well serviced, that ended up being just purchase after purchase after purchase, because we serviced everybody within the friend group. We have never been in a more referable economy. We know that millennials and Gen Zers are more likely to refer than any other cohort in human history. We do it every single day when we pick up social media and we, you know, share a post about like a great service or company or business that we've worked with. Referrals have never been easier to get and more valuable. And yet, as real estate professionals, so often we pour huge amounts of resources to, you know, chasing the ghosts of phantom leads, when all you have to do is a better job with your systems and operational. So, Shauna, was that anything else you wanted to share on your? I know we're going to share all of the templates as well as the all of the templates in the checklist, so that you. And here's an example of one of them.
So these are just some examples of our email the email templates that I use. I've got them all saved in a Word document. I just copy and paste, and then I fill in the blanks and take out what's not needed and add stuff here and there depending on the situation, or if we've worked with them before, I don't want it to look like I'm reaching out to them for the very first time, like they don't know who I am. So I will kind of make it a little more personal and be like, oh, it's nice to work with you again. If this is a landlord, for example, that has done several deals with us, stuff like that. So I do personalize it, but we do have templates for everything just to be efficient, because with the amount of leases that we're working on, I'm working on, at any given time, I probably have 20 to 25 leases on my plate. So to keep everything organized and be able to get through that efficiently, we have to have templates. So that's how we keep our systems proper. But I will say, like, after doing this for as long as I've been doing it now, I see firsthand that what the other side doesn't do. So it's really easy to stand out if you put the systems in place, because the bar is so low on the other side often. Like I have working with listing agents that'll be like, oh, contact my landlord client directly, because they just can't be bothered to even be the go-between. So it's so easy to stand out if you just put some effort into it and have some systems in place. You can definitely provide a 5-star service that stands out from everybody else.
Oh, Shauna, we have landlords on the other side where we've represented the tenant coming in, and then the landlords on renewal reach out to us to ask them to handle the next one. So bypass their agent altogether just because we did a better job, even though we weren't even representing them. So
Right.
really, really, really easy to do. Let's talk about the importance of Google reviews and how building an online following is super important.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few points in my checklist where I will send out a request for a Google review. And it really depends on the client. I kind of take it case by case. Some of our agents prefer not to send it out right in the beginning and to send it out closer to the end, because they know their clients better than I do, and it's just a feeling. So, but this example here is at the end of the closing, we send out a closing package, which is just a nicety that we do for people. It's just an added service that we send out all of their printed documents in a nice Carol Fodrick folder with the agent's card and a cover letter that just explains to them what we're sending them and why we're doing this. And then when I put that package together, I will send this email to just let them know it's coming to you. You should, see it in the next week or so. And then, by the way, if you wouldn't mind giving us a Google review. So it's just kind of a nice entry into asking them for, we're giving you something in return, would you mind giving us a Google review? And people are always happy to do it. So
thank you, Sean. I think that's so valuable. And so if anybody has any questions, I'd love for it to be posted into the chat. Do you have another slide? I think that was your last one, right, Shauna?
I think,
okay,
yep, that was it.
There you go. So we are going to be sending out a recording of this meeting and all of the materials. So the lease closing package, the templates, and the closing checklist that you can share or use yourself, edit, rebrand. We are an open book company here, so happy to. Anna has a question. Do you use FedEx or UPS for mailings? No, we usually through regular Canada Post for our.
Yes, for to send out closing packages, they go out through Canada Post. If we're sending out, checks and stuff, we have a local courier company that we use.
Yep. Thank you. If there's any other questions, you can pop it into the chat now. Thank you, Shauna and Alessia, to both of you for just sharing the mindset, the systems, the strategy. For those of you that are joining us from outside Ontario, I know everything you heard about today wasn't necessarily going to be relevant, but as a reminder, we are never too busy for your Ontario-bound referrals. So if you're joining us or watching the replay later and you're outside Ontario, we are always happy to be of service to you. And if you are an Ontario-based agent and you're tuning in, if you're looking for a brokerage that is built for teams, top performers, and agents that are ready to scale, Signature Elite as a brokerage was designed for you. And I would love to chat with you about your real estate goals. Before we wrap up, I want you to mark your calendars for next month's Signature System session. We are going to be talking about the conversion code, and this is mastering your numbers and predicting your 2026 income with clarity and confidence, especially in this topsy-turvy market that we're in. Everybody needs to go into January knowing exactly how to take the guesswork out of your goals. You will know exactly what you need to do, when to do it, and how to hit your income targets with precision for 2026. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, for your commitment to learning, to excellence, and to the Signature Elite standards. So I will catch up with you guys again next month. Thanks so much.